What's going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to Bring the Juice. So the Colts lose once again, this time to the Washington Commanders at home. The Colts were unable to hold their fourth quarter lead and end up losing to the Washington Commanders 17-16 on a day where the Colts Ring of Honor guys were all here at the stadium introducing their newest Ring of Honor inductee. And this is the final result that the Colts provide, another stunning loss to the Washington Commanders. Cody, it just feels like this is nutshell 2022 for the Indianapolis Colts.
Rinse, repeat, right? The Colts find ways to lose. We said that off air. The Colts are a team, and this is how I know they're poorly coached, right? This is the same thing with Pagano. It's like the Colts are not finding reasons and ways to win. They find reasons to lose. Let's be honest, guys. Basically outside of the Jacksonville game, Colts didn't deserve to win that Denver game. Colts didn't deserve to win that Kansas City game. They basically got lucky because the other team lost the game. You know, this Colts team is not a team. And now we've kind of discovered their identity, right? This is not a team that's going to be a true contender. I mean, they just don't have it in them, right? They just don't have that killer instinct when it comes down to it. And that's tough to say because I do feel like this team still has talent, guys. It's crazy as it is. As bad as it's looked, this team still has talent all over the field. And so for that reason, the fact that you were up, on this team and you allowed them to come back and score twice and not respond offensively, I mean, it's just it's like you said, it's just classic 2022 Colts at this point. It's just the same thing, different week, and it's getting ridiculous.
I want to ask Max here. So Max, I mean, let's go into you for a split second, then we'll get into some of the players and whatnot. So Indianapolis still, again, only scored 3 points in the first half. It has been 10 consecutive games in a row where they were losing going into halftime. And they were the only team in the NFL this year that has not been leading going into the fourth quarter. So, I mean, when you're looking at what this team is doing, it's amazing too, because the Colts are 50. I think they said they're 61 and 17 this year or 61 and 19 in point differential in the fourth quarter. They're the third best team in the NFL at fourth quarter scoring differential. The problem is you can't win football games when you're only scoring in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. The problem is, I feel like the root of this team is broken. Everything that you want in a team is broken. And the fact that all your playmakers are not making plays when you need them to most is what's hurting this team the most now. Jonathan Taylor fumbling, and that leads to Washington points. It's just a common theme. Sam Ehlinger fumbling right before half. Like you said, they were down at half again, only had 3 points on the board. Luckily, they had 3 points on the board because they've been getting shut out in the first half a lot this year. So that drive, that game killer drive, that really was a game killer, because if they scored there, who knows what would happen at the end of the game. So you take those points off the board, and here we are with another Colts loss, and we're wondering where to go from here again with the trade deadline coming up on Tuesday.
Yep. So a lot going on. And, I think the biggest concept of all of this, guys, is the fact that Colts always lose to themselves. They never let other teams beat them. They always beat themselves. I mean, you talk about it. This team ended up fumbling the ball twice today, both times inside the 20-yard line when you were guaranteed points as long as you didn't turn the ball over. And you did. That's how you lose games. That's how this team continues to lose games, because it has also been the storyline of the 2022 Colts is every time they get into opponent territory, they find a way to screw it up, whether it's being sacked, whether it's fumbling it, whether it's throwing an interception, whether it's not scoring a touchdown. I mean, it's truly incredible. But let's go into some of the play here of some of these players. So you have to start with Sam Ehlinger. It was his first game today. 17 of 23 for 201 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, was sacked twice today. Obviously had the fumble. Obviously, guys, this is my opinion, and we'll start with Max first on this, then we'll go to Cody. Sam obviously made some good plays today. Clear it was it was a good performance from him, but again, still reminds you it's still not enough to get the job done. I mean, I can understand that you want to give him the benefit of the doubt, fumbling the ball the first time. I get it, but it just feels like a thing for this team that nobody preaches ball security. Like, this team fumbles the ball more than anyone else in the NFL by a long shot. It's not even close. So discipline and ball security is not something that they're being coached to do. And when it comes to that last drive, if Ellinger faked to run and then threw it to Jonathan Taylor last second, that's a first down. Jonathan Taylor, he gets 15 yards, and this game might have been blown open. But instead, we're short. I can't give him an excuse for that. He was short. So in the biggest of moments, Sam Ellinger did not perform the way that we wished he would have. Max, what was your opinion on Sam Ellinger today?
Yeah, as fans, we always want our team to do well, and we always want whoever's in the back controlling everything. Quarterback's the most important position on the field. Everyone wants their quarterback to play as well as they can, but Sam Ellinger coming into this game, who did not even throw his first NFL pass yet, had no NFL pass attempts, and was his first career start in the NFL. What did we expect to happen? Back in training camp, he said that this was going to be a 3-year rebuild of his mechanics and throwing motions that he worked with Tom House in the offseason. And he got thrust in here 7 games into the season because the owner forced himself to make this decision for his 2 top leaders that he hired and actually extended into 2026 last August. So first of all, that's an indictment on the GM, because the fact that he had to step in and say that we don't have a good enough roster to win a Super Bowl. I'm gonna look to the future at this most important position and then reevaluate everything after the year, including your job status. So that's an indictment on the GM. And then the fact that he had to take out the quarterback, which means that Frank Reich wasn't going to do that by himself. He was going to leave in Matt Ryan. So furthermore, the way that this game was constructed coming into it, of course our hopes were high, but we said that the past 2 weeks leading up to this, or the past week leading up to this game, that we get to watch the rest of the season without real expectations and real actual, expectations. And the fact that this game played out the way it did, I'm surprised on the defensive side of the ball that they collapsed the way they did at the end of the game. But on the offensive side, they did look a lot better throughout the game. They moved the ball. They seemed to be in plus territory a lot more and putting themselves in positions to score. The ball security is a different story, and that needs to be cleaned up. But who knows if it will at this point of the year? Because you really are who you are at this point. But it's another disappointing loss, and I don't know where this team's gonna be able to go from here.
Cody, Sam Ellinger today?
I think he was fine. For his first NFL start, I thought he did a pretty decent job, right?
Mm-hmm.
No touchdowns, no interceptions. That's not a great game from anybody. At least he didn't turn it over multiple times. I'll say that.
Yeah, right.
That's something we haven't had in a quarterback this year. But yeah, I liked how he was able to use his legs to get out of situations. Obviously, it was something that Matt Ryan really couldn't do. So you see that. But, at least the offense, guys, was a little bit more fun to watch, right?
Yeah.
I'll say that. And, with how bad it's been, at least, you're talking about, even though they self-imploded, like they've done all year, at least this team was in the red zone, like you talked about, Max, a little bit more, right? They were making some big plays, Derek. That was a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
I heard multiple times, some big plays that did happen, and hey, they scored a touchdown as well. So, and obviously our standards are very low for what this offense is right now. But, for Sam Ellinger, and we said it last year, or last week, I should say, whenever he was named the starter, it's like, whether good or bad, it's going to be fun to watch. And it didn't disappoint today. So, that's kind of where I am with Ellinger. I think he looks exactly like we thought he was, probably, at his ceiling. And again, it's his first game, so I don't want to give him too much. You don't know everything about him yet, but very much a backup kind of performance, if that makes sense. And Sam did a pretty good job, given the circumstances, being given the fact that a couple weeks ago he was the third string quarterback to now being the starter. I thought he managed it well, and I thought he was able to spread the ball around to some of his targets. Pretty decent job and kind of opened this offense up a little bit. Albeit he did have that fumble, which was a critical play. But for a 6th-round pick that's never seen the field, I thought he did just fine.
Yep. And then we could go to some of the playmakers of today. Jonathan Taylor, 16 carries for 76 yards. Obviously was dealing with that ankle injury, so it was a little bit of something. And it felt weird because there were a couple drives where Jonathan could get absolutely nothing going. And then there were a couple drives where Jonathan Taylor just looked like he couldn't be stopped. It was very inconsistent by this offensive line and what they're trying to get out of Jonathan. Nyheim Hines, 5 carries for 20 yards. Sam Ehlinger, when you take into account the fact that he had been sacked for 13 yards, still had 15 yards on 6 runs. And then Paris Campbell, the one time that the Colts decide to actually run a jet sweep with Paris Campbell was this close to breaking it for a touchdown. How many times Paris Campbell came this close to breaking a touchdown in that game? I'm trying to tell y'all don't want to listen to me. I'm not you two specifically, but everyone else that watches this video, trying to tell y'all, Paris Campbell is a freak of nature when you get this man the ball in his hands and get him some open space. The one time all season they've ran it and it nearly went for a touchdown. I mean, I'm amazed that we still continue to not get him involved in ways like that. It needs to happen more often. The way that they use Curtis Samuel is a very important thing. What do you guys say? Cody, we'll start with you real quick. Your opinions on the run game today.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it had some moments where it looked bad. The offensive line really didn't do a great job most of the game, opening up holes for Taylor and company. But yeah, I did like how they got Hines involved a little bit more. He obviously had the touchdown today. They're getting Paris Campbell involved. Guys, it's not rocket science, right? Like, you would think that as big of a genius as Frank Reich is as a play caller, he would have figured this out a couple years in, how to use Paris Campbell and Nyheim Hines properly. You would think that, right? You would think that because every single time that they touch the ball, good things happen. And it's so sad that we're at this point now where both these guys, for multiple years, we've said this, right? That the Colts haven't used these guys correctly. More Paris Campbell this year. It's just insane to me that the Colts just have continued to not use them. And when they start to use them, oh, wow, surprise, surprise, good things happen, man. And so, yeah, I want to give a shout out to those two guys because they looked fantastic. You talked about Taylor, Derek. I mean, obviously he had a decent game, over 70 yards rushing. But I will say this, he had a critical fumble, and you cannot do that. You cannot do that. Absolutely. I thought it was not a great day from Taylor overall because he put the ball on the ground and he cost the Colts points.
You're absolutely right. Max?
Yeah. So I thought one of the plays that I think we're going to discuss in the film session this week that I was actually thinking about was Taylor's biggest gain of the ground on the ground this year was 27 yards in like the first half. I forget whether it was the first or second quarter. But it was kind of like a based off read option, and Sam Miller could either take it or he can hand it off to Jonathan Taylor. That's what we were missing from this offense all year long. Was that threat of the quarterback to run or to pull it or to hand it off? I mean, so it was a great day by this offense. I loved a lot of the amount of new plays that Frank Reich added to this offense in this game, rolling Sam out, adding that threat of RPO and read option. And I'm looking forward to the next 9 games. What our record's going to be at the end of the year. None of us have a crystal ball. None of us know, but it didn't look too promising after this game. And especially because a lot of the times that Frank Reich, in the biggest moments for this offense, Frank Reich did not come through with the play calling, and it was honestly disappointing.
Yeah, it's funny because people say, "Oh, Frank Reich didn't drop that pass," or "Frank Reich didn't do this," but I'm like, "But Frank Reich's the one preparing them, getting them ready. Him and his whole staff, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, yes, you put some fault on the player, but also the coach needs to take the blame there too, because this is continuing to happen. It's not like a 1 week thing, right?
Yeah, this team leads the league in turnovers. They're one of the worst teams in turnover differential, which over the last few years has been a bright spot for this team. We force turnovers and take care of the football. It's been a complete opposite this year. That doesn't just happen when you bring in one or two new players on the opposite sides of the field. That doesn't happen like that. That's a coaching problem on top of it. So,
Yep.
So, all right. Well, we set our pieces with the rushing attack. Let's go to the receivers here. Like we said, guys, Ellinger went 17 to 23. So overall, very accurate in the way that he went off. Alec Pierce, 3 catches for 65 yards, including that 47-yarder from Sam Ellinger in the fourth quarter. Michael Pittman, 7 catches for 53 yards. Paris Campbell had 2 catches for 43 yards, the one that he almost broke. Naheem Hines had 2 catches for 29 yards. Again, you saw the really big one that helped set up a good drive for them. And then Granson had 3 catches for 11 yards. So only 5 guys caught a pass today for Indianapolis. Now, I mean, obviously, when you look at the way Matt Ryan displays the football, normally there's 7, 8, or 9 guys that have a catch in a game. This one was very more of just 5 guys. You know, Jelani Woods not getting involved again. Molly Cox not getting involved again. Jonathan Taylor wasn't involved in that. And of course, I want to say shout out to Alec Pierce and shout out to Paris Campbell. You two, again, are very fantastic wide receivers. You guys are making me proud. And I got to say, again, I'm going to say my piece again. Pittman, stop dropping the ball at the end of games. Stop it. That last drive, guys, when there was 22 seconds, Michael Pittman catches that ball at the 45-yard line, doesn't even get touched. And if he doesn't get touched, he is at the 45-yard line of Washington if he doesn't drop that ball. Gets out of bounds. There's 14 seconds left. You get 10 yards on the next play. Guess what happens? We win. That's it. It could have been it. That could have won the game. And again, for the second week in a row, Michael Pittman has dropped the bag on this team. He dropped it last week when he fumbled the ball where the game was probably out of reach anyway, but it abandoned all hope that the Colts had of potentially making the comeback. And this time alone, you could have had a 35-yard catch that could have potentially won your team the game again, and you fumble the bag again. Like, yeah, you're catching 7 catches for 53 yards, man, but you ain't scoring nothing for us, dude. You ain't scoring nothing for us. And yeah, it's on Frank Reich as well, because again, we get into the red zone, and for some reason, we forget that we have a 6'3", a 6'4", and 2 6'7" guys that can catch the ball over any corner or linebacker in this league, but yet we seem to run the football from the shotgun at the half-yard line. We can't seem to figure that out. But Michael Pittman, stop giving away these games, dude. You're just as much to blame as anything. We've been saying it all year long that this wide receiver core has been doing everything they can to win games. But Pittman, man, you're dropping the bag on me right now, dude. You got to stop. Max, we'll go with you.
Yeah, it's honestly been disappointing the past 2 weeks about, like you said, like the rant you just went on, the passionate rant you just went on. We're down by 2 scores last game, final minute. I mean, it wouldn't have mattered anyway, I feel like. But Pittman, yeah, the fumble killed the game. He didn't get out of bounds this week against the Commanders, and that also killed this game. And we had a realistic shot of winning this game with a field goal if we got in field goal range with Chase McLaughlin, because Chase McLaughlin's been hitting 50-yarders really well this year. So we actually had a very realistic shot of winning this game if Pittman got out of bounds at that point. But there were so many other plays in this game that we didn't convert or make that were really important plays. And that also, like you brought up the Frank Reich point. Frank Reich Frank Reich opened up his playbook and when he was down, really. When he was down in the count, when it was 2nd and 12, when it was 2nd and 10, when it was 3rd and 8, he brought out Naeem Hines and Jonathan Taylor to try to fool the defense. He brought jet sweeps when he was down, when he was 2nd and 10, 2nd and long, like 2nd and 9, like those type of those type of downs and the most crucial downs that he opened up the playbook. We need to see more of him opening up his playbook the rest of the season. He seems to get tight with the playbook in the most crucial moments. And that was actually a good play by the Commanders, keeping Michael Pittman in balance on that play. Bobby McCain hit him from the side when he was facing out of bounds and pushed him back in, and they just cradled him up. So that was also a good play on the Commanders, so credit to them. But like I said, we had a lot of plays in this game that we could have made, and we didn't, and we failed.
Cody?
Oh, yeah. I mean, talk about this team in the critical moments, this team crumbles, and that's how you tell what this team is. This team is I think at this point, guys, and correct me if you disagree with this, I think it's a 5-6 win football team at the best at this point. I mean, just with the lack of passion, it doesn't seem like I talked about earlier, this team wants to go and win these games. It just doesn't. You just obviously see that. Like you saw that last week in Tennessee, right? This offense, just no life at all. You saw it in this game, right? This team just completely, figuring out ways to not win. I mean, that's just how it is. And Pittman's part of that. He's part of that right now. And, that drop was, a killer for them. It was just awful. It was just completely inexcusable by Michael Pittman, who's typically been a sure-handed receiver. So it's very uncharacteristic of him, right? Most of the time. So, yeah, just like good players that are typically very reliable are becoming unreliable, guys. And that to me, this is just a bad culture with this team right now. You can smell the stink from a mile away. It's bad. And guys, I think at this point, trade deadline's on Tuesday. You got to start selling players. Like, you got to start selling some of these players who are not living up to contract. Ryan Kelly, did he even play in this game? I know he was.
Yeah,
benched.
he did. He started. Apparently, everyone said Pinter was taking the ones, but Kelly played the majority of the game at center.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Either the media lied or that the Colts just wanted to fake somebody out somehow.
That's weird.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Kelly was in at center for the majority of the game. I wonder if it was just for it. I forget it. What I was about to say was completely stupid. So yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand. They said, he was taking the reps at the ones and in practice or in the warm-ups, and then he never played. He never played, at least from what I can gather.
So, I think you have to start selling a few players at least, right? Kenny Moore, he's just been burnt toast this whole year. He's been horrible. What the heck happened, man? A guy that's wanting a contract extension, a guy that's done it the right way. He doesn't deserve to be back on this team next year at this point. That's how bad he's played.
I've never seen a guy I've seen players drop off after contracts, but I've never seen a guy who was looking to get a giant extension to make him a top 10 corner in the league drop off as much as this.
It's ridiculous.
It's one of the few things that Ballard freaking got right. Said, no, I'm not going to pay you right now. Go show me that you can do it. And he ain't done that all year. There's been a few times where Kenny Moore has made some plays in the backfield, but in the biggest of moments, he's getting toasted by Curtis Samuel all day. It's just, yeah.
It's a weekly thing, guys.
Yeah. And when we go to the defense, it sucks that the game ended like that because they held them to 7 points up until the final 6 minutes of that game. That sucks. It really does, because honestly, giving up 17 points is not a bad game. It really isn't. The fact that we lost is not really on the defense. When you look at it in this respect, they held the Commanders to 96 yards rushing in this game on 28 carries. So they were averaging 3.5 yards a carry. So they really did a fantastic job stopping the run. And then, of course, you had the first 2 drives of the game, the Colts pass defense didn't look good. And then, of course, the final 10 minutes of the fourth quarter, they didn't look good. But going into those last 2 drives for the Commanders, they had 32 yards of offense through all the third quarter and the first drive of the fourth quarter, right? That's good. The defense, other than 4 drives in this game, 4 drives, the defense did not look good, but they gave up 17 points in 3 drives in this game. So outside of that, I mean, I know obviously at the end you needed to step up and they didn't, but the defense can't win it all, dude. The defense can't do this every week and pull and keep y'all's asses in the game when your offense can't score 20. Man, like this is ridiculous. I can't blame the defense. You held them to 17 points. That should win you most games, but it doesn't in this situation because you're the Colts offense. Cody, what do you say about the defense?
I mean, defense it was hit and miss, but I mean, yeah, you're right. You held them under 20 points. That should most weeks win you that game. So, I mean, the defense, while they weren't perfect today, I think this is one of their worst games they've had in a while, maybe outside of the Jacksonville game. I still thought they did enough to keep this team in this game, and so, I mean, yeah. And also just wanted to say, sucks for Tyquan Lewis with that injury, back-to-back years. Looks like we'll see, but it didn't look good. He might have broken his leg or something like that. He had to get the cart and come out. But anyway, I thought the defense did just a fine job. Near the end, obviously, that's just Terry McLaurin going up there and making a big boy play.
It is, yeah. I mean, that's just an unfortunate situation where, like, that's just not something you could ever do in Madden. It's just a human-like play that either Gilmore was coming down with that or McLaurin was, and McLaurin was stronger in that moment.
Yep.
McLaurin wanted it more. He's from Indiana, and he was fired up to play in this game against the Colts, his hometown team, and he wanted it more than Gilmore did. And that's been really the theme of the season. Other teams wanted it more than us. And I know that we've mounted comebacks in the fourth quarter a lot. Like we've put together drives. Like you've said that stat of like it was like 65-19 in the fourth quarter or something ridiculous like that. But in the first three quarters, we just look lifeless. And each team wants it more than us. And it's been a common theme, and it's been like that really throughout Frank Reich's whole tenure. We've had late starts, and then we turn on later in the year. Like it's just a constant theme. And where are we going to go from here? I don't know, but it looks like it's gonna end eventually.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, obviously, I think the biggest issue is, again, when I think just one last point before we finish this. Again, it just really hurts me to know how many times we get inside the opponent's 30-yard line and we fail to score. Like, that has been the common occurrence all year long, is the fact that we get to the opponent's end or red zone, we forget how to play football all of a sudden. O-line can't block. I mean, that drive where Ellinger fumbled the football, you had the jet sweep by Paris Campbell, 3 straight runs by Jonathan Taylor, which gave you another 30. So you ran 58 yards in 4 plays. You were inside the 15-yard line when Ellinger got that face mask called against him, and you were in there, and then you lose 5 yards the next play because Quentin Nelson can't block Jonathan Allen.
Yeah,
and then the next play, Ellinger fumbles the ball, right? Like, I mean, that's just Colts football in a nutshell this year, killing themselves. This team should have 5 wins right now if it just wasn't for the fact, even for as terrible as their offensive line has been this year, they should have 5 wins simply due to the fact that they just beat themselves every week. They do it every week, and they're lucky if they win, and they just aren't able to do it this year.
You mentioned Quentin Nelson. How about that regression? Like we're talking about a lot of, like we're talking about the Kenny Moore regression, the Ryan Kelly has not been playing up to his contract. Like his regression has also been stunning, but you just paid Quentin Nelson $20 million.
Yeah.
In the offseason. Like right before the season started, the day before the Houston game, you signed him. And now whether you keep the GM or you fire the whole regime together, you're going to be in cap hell with a $20 million a year guard. Like what do you like that's not really attractive to whoever's going to come in here that you're strapped to a 20 you're going to be paying a guard who's not even that's really playing like a backup right now to $20 million a season. And you somehow after the season you got to be able to restructure whether Ballard stays or goes. That's got to be something you look into that you got to restructure Because that can't stay like that, right? There's no way.
No, it can't. You're right. Because you just paid that man $20 million unless you cut his salary in half. Unless you cut the salary in half, which I don't think that's going to happen.
Or you trade him.
But I just don't know if anyone's going to want to take on that contract with that kind of performance. Maybe if he was playing like the best guard in football right now, then maybe, but he's not. Like, and nobody's going to take Quentin Nelson right now. No way.
You definitely have to restructure the contract if you were going to make any kind of move, significant move like that of sending him away. Like, definitely. Either way, you got to restructure the contract eventually, whether it's a trade deadline this year or after the season. It's very unlikely, probably 0% that he gets traded before Tuesday. But like, if you get an offer you can't refuse, and you work with Quentin to restructure that contract, I mean, you got to look into it. But no one's gonna trade for him with the way he's playing this year.
I mean, guys, at this point, nobody should be safe on this team. Like, I'm talking, nobody should be safe on this team, which is just like bizarre. Because like beginning of the season, I probably would have had a couple people that I would have said that person's probably untouchable. But we're to the point in the season now where there's maybe one or two that I would even argue are untouchable. That's just how bad it's been. Even your good players, like your superstars, are playing poor. I don't understand it. I am baffled by the regression of so many players in just one season. It's actually bizarre.
I don't know what to do. And the funny part is so this was a quote from Ryan Kelly after the game that Charlie Clifford picked up, said, it's shit or get off the pot time. He says, it's like, bro, we're past that. We're done with that. That should have been weeks ago. And you said that a few weeks ago. And I don't know what to do at this point, y'all.
I just want to touch on one point that I made earlier. I just want to clarify that a little bit more.
Okay.
When Irsay made this change to Ehlinger, this was a lot of people are like debating whether like he really had faith in Ehlinger, whether this was or if he felt that was better than Nick Foles. Like if this was if this team was 5-3 right now, Matt Ryan got hurt, Nick Foles would be in there because this team that's like a 2-game stopgap to keep this team afloat. Maybe scratch out a couple wins, and then you're back with Matt Ryan. You're going on a run. But this was an admittance by this owner that this team was not good enough to get to the goals that he wanted this team to get to this year. He wanted this team to go to a championship, win playoff games. And the fact that he put in a quarterback who had no NFL experience, not even thrown a pass in an NFL game, this was an admittance that this roster was not good enough to get to where he wanted to go. And that's an indictment on the GM, like I said. And then for speaking of Frank Reich thinks he can win with any quarterback he has in there. Whether it's Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz, Phillip Rivers, whoever it was. He thought he would have carried through with Matt Ryan all the way through the season. I don't think Frank Reich would have walked up to Jim Irsay and said, hey, like, I think we should consider making a move from Matt Ryan to Sam Ehlinger, Nick Foles, who he thought it would be, right? I don't think Frank Reich would do that because I think he believes in his quarterbacks way too much sometimes. And I think Irsay had to step in as well on that part and make that change on his side of the arena. And that's also an indictment on his offensive scheme because he couldn't make an offense work with the weapons that he had at his disposal. Like, where was his Hines and Taylor plays or packages all season long? We've barely seen that. We've barely seen Hines and Taylor on the field together in the backfield, and we saw that a good 5 times today. We didn't see jet sweeps to Paris Campbell. You don't need Matt Ryan to be mobile for that. I mean, where has that been?
Yeah.
I know. This has just been all so confusing, and something's got to change.
I literally said it in the live stream. I said, like, the jet sweep, like, where's that been all season? Like, where has the gadget ways that, like, Washington used Curtis Samuel in so many different ways in this game. Like, why can't we use Paris Campbell the same way? I mean, and then the screen, the one time that the wide receiver screen actually worked for Indianapolis, it was almost a touchdown. Almost. Like, I mean, again, it goes to show you again, it goes with executing properly, which these players definitely aren't. And then the play calling, opening it up, because nobody saw that jet sweep coming because the Colts don't run it. They motion Paris Campbell all the time, but it's not like the motion means anything. And then watch what happens. The next time that the Colts run the ball 3 times with Paris Campbell coming in motion, look what they did. The guys followed Paris Campbell and Jonathan Taylor gets 9 yards a carry. Like, come on, man. I can't understand that. Like, that was how stupid, that's how ridiculous that is, man. Like, gosh, I want to pull my hair out for how bad this is, dude. I'm going to have no hair at the end of the season, dude.
Just shave it all off, man.
Yeah, shave it all off at this point. Yeah.
No, but I feel like, guys, every single week with this team, I say the same thing. And it's becoming a broken record. This team and this offense under Frank Reich, they make things so much more difficult than they need to be. Like, they seriously do. Like, it's like, it's almost like they decide, oh, we're going to get like, they're like a tease. This team is a freaking tease offensively. They get your hopes up. Oh my gosh, they got a 50-yard sweep with Paris Campbell. And then they go and just like, oh, you know that guy, guys, that Geico commercial where it's like the fisherman with the dollar. He's like, I got you $1. Right?
You got to be quicker than that.
You got to be quicker than that. That's what it feels like with this team, with this offense. Every single week, we're like, oh my gosh, they finally figured it out. And then they go down and they're stupid. They're ridiculously stupid. Like, it's almost to the point, guys, where this team and this offense, I'm convinced that that's like another form of torture, like that they're going to put in, like, to the worst of the worst criminals is the 2022 Indianapolis Colts offense, because I don't think anybody can watch that all the way through. It just sucks because
it's like fans still will say like, well, at least we had a chance to win this game. And that's what makes it more frustrating is the fact that we could have. And I would be willing to accept that sometimes games just don't go in your favor if you were winning your games the majority of the time. You're not this season. That's what's different. It's not the fact. I mean, this offense is like at a point where I keep saying it every week. This offense historically might be one of the worst offenses in Colts franchise history.
It's broken.
Like, that's how bad it is.
All aspects of it is broken.
Yeah, you can't run the football consistently. You throw the ball, but I mean, even then it doesn't generate a lot of touchdowns. And then your receivers are dropping passes at the end of games, and you don't get Jelani Woods involved, who is 6'7". You can't get Mo Alley Cox the ball in the red zone. Yeah. At least Phillip Rivers could throw the football to Mo Alley Cox in the red zone and at least score touchdowns that way.
Yeah, where the hell has Jelani Woods been?
Yeah, he hasn't been involved in the game plan since week 4.
Where has he been?
Against Jacksonville, I guess, but even then it was still 2 catches. But over the last 4 weeks, he's had 2 catches for 27 yards and a touchdown.
I think this was the best. I think this was the best game offensive wise that we've been in the red zone, like the highest percentage that we've been in the red zone, like red zone trips. And
at least inside the 30.
Did he even touch the field? Like he
touched the field. They just never threw the football to him.
I don't even remember seeing him. Like, this is like
they had a couple double tight end sets, especially at the end of the game. But they were trying to run the football, and they just never got Jelani Woods involved. And I feel like we say that every week, and it's just kind of like, I know we're at the point where we're saying that he's obviously still young, and he's still got to get better at some of the things that he's doing, but he's caught the ball 6 times this year, and 3 of those have been for touchdowns. Like, you can't tell me it can't get any worse than that. Like, come on. Like, what more do we need to see that the guy who has caught 6 passes has gotten a first down or a touchdown on 5 of those? Like, what more do we need to see to prove that he's worthy of a few attempts at a target every game? Like, especially when you're inside the 5, right? Like, when Hines gets to that 4-yard line, the first play you should have, it should be a pass to the end zone. You should be throwing to one of your big name wide receivers or your big tight ends. That should be the first play on first or second down every time you get inside there. Because it just is weird because, again, Whose idea was it to run the ball from shotgun on the half-yard line? That's Frank Reich's fault. Again, you have not gotten a push all game up to that point, and then yet you had confidence in your ability to run 1 yard. Like, every Colts fan would have told you that was dumb. But whatever. So we'll move on, though. That's going to do it for this one, guys. As you can tell, we're all insanely frustrated. I'm sure that the rest of you are frustrated as well. Let us know your thoughts on this game. We'll make a quick shout out before we leave, though. Shout out to Colts Nation. We just passed 14,000 subscribers today. So greatly appreciate you guys getting us to that goal during stream. Thank you to the 1,100 people who were in the stream at the end of the game. Greatly appreciated. Let us know your guys' thoughts. Thank you so much. And as always, go Colts. What's going on, everybody? Today, I want to talk to you about our sponsor, BetStamp. Now, I know what you're thinking. Derek, another betting app? What is so different about this one now? Well, I got to tell you guys, I'm not into online gambling a whole lot and bets online and everything, but I got to tell you, BetStamp is one of the coolest things I have ever seen in regards to betting online. The great thing about BetStamp is it allows you to see all the different odds from all different sports books and see which one provides you the best odds possible for any game or scenario you want to bet on for your pick versus some of the worst. BetStamp allows you to also buy and sell picks that you have without worrying about losing your money or having any issues with it. Believe me, it's all free. I mean, look at this, guys. You have an option for every game across all different kinds of leagues in a ton of different ways. You have baseball, you have college football, UFC, NBA, and NFL. Great for the NFL season now being here. And if I wanted to bet on this Tennessee Titans versus Buffalo Bills game, it shows me in real time what are the best odds, which sports book I'm going to get the best offer from versus some of the worst ones. Because why would you want to earn less money from PointsBet when you could be winning more from ProLine Plus? Again, a great thing that BetStamp offers you, allowing you to make more money for the same pick just with a different sports book. How easy is that? And the great thing is there's not just games. There's player props. There's game props. There's lines. There's live tracking. There's a ton of great ways to make bets and picks on BetStamp, guys. Totally a cool thing to use. I highly encourage you check it out if you're into any kind of online betting. Even if you're not, give it a check. See what you like about it, because I think I actually enjoy using it. But the best way to get an edge on online sports betting is having multiple accounts at different sports books. Be sure to hit the BetLink page, betstamp.app/onboarding. Be sure to check out the BetStamp app or online, and be sure to use the referral code JUICE, plug in your state, and you'll get access to all their affiliates and their prices once you open it up, seeing all states' lines. Be sure to check this out, guys. You won't want to miss it for the best odds on your next sports bet.